Welcome back. Thanks for showing up. I am doing another deck tech, and this deck tech is going to be hopefully not long, but not fast. At the same time, I'm doing it because this upcoming Friday is the pre-release for Dungeons & Dragons, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to videotape where I'm going to be doing it. So I'm doing deck tech just as a cover my butt. So yeah, I have content, and y'all can tell me what is needed in this. Now, this is a commander deck. The commander is Zegana, Utopian speaker. 2 green and a blue. Merfolk Wizard. She's a 4/4. And it says when it enters the battlefield, you control, if you control another creature with a 1/1 counter on it, draw a card. So if you have 2 creatures with counters on them, draw 2 cards. 3 creatures, draw 3 cards. And then it says for a blue and a green, adapt 4. This creature has no 1/1 counters on it. You may put 4 1/1 counters on it. And then each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it has trample. So you're trampling over your enemy. And that was kind of the idea with this deck. It wasn't really, it's more of a go over the top. Go wide and go over the top. But somewhere along the way, I got confused. Somewhere along the way, I varied from the path. But maybe with your help, I can fix it. I do like this deck. It does have a record of 5-5, but it is a fun deck to play, especially if it's shuffled up properly, because you never know what you're going to get. So anyways, that's the commander. Let's get into this. On the land side, lands are pretty easy. I'm not a big fan of tap lands, so I don't like tap lands. You got Path of Ancestry, and you got Legura Mirror Lake. You also got Simic Growth Chamber. Those are my tap lands. Now, because of this new book coming out in D&D, that lets your opponent basically try to sneak a land as an emblem. We normally don't play too much land destruction in this game. I do find myself having to do this. So I have a Field of Ruin. I have a Ghost Quarters. And I'll probably, most likely, be putting in a strip mine. But I do have those 2 just in case. Rogue's Passage. Now, this one's in here just because you might want to sneak something in as part of the win conditions. One of the win conditions. Scavenger Grounds, which is always fun. Exile all the guards from all graveyards. Opal Palace, which is always fun. Temple of the False God is kind of on the iffy side. If you get better card or better land, you can put it in there. Command Tower, because it's commander. Why would you not have a command tower in it? Botanical Sanctums, Yavimaya Coast, Temple of Mystery, Breeding Pool, Waterlogged Grove, Lumbering Falls, and Hinterland Harbor. Those are in here to fix the mana base, because sometimes you need a dual land. Got a bunch of islands, 3 of them. Got a bunch of forests, 3 of them. And then I got snow-covered lands. And the only reason why there's snow-covered lands in here is because I was planning on putting in 1 card. Oh, sorry. That's 4 snow-covered islands and 5 snow-covered islands and 4 snow-covered forests. I was planning on putting in a different card. I never put it in because actually I did put it in. I didn't like it, so I took it out. So those are in there. There is 1 card that interacts with snow lands. So if you don't want to put the snow-covered lands in there, you don't have to. I'll go over these at the end. This is going to be some cards that you probably never see in a commander deck. At the same time, probably you probably haven't seen these since they came out, when they came out. They're not the greatest cards, but they work really well in a deck like this. In a deck like this, it's all about getting 1/1 counters on stuff, proliferating it, and then smashing over face. So, Broken Bond. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Or you may put a land card in play. So, mana fixing mainly. Silver Scrying, mana fixing. 3 Fizzits, mana fixing. Cultivate, mana fixing. Sorry, mana ramp. Incremental growth. When was the last time you saw incremental growth? Put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature. 2 1/1 counters on another target creature. And 3 1/1 counters on a third target creature. Tezzeret's Gambit. Gotta love it. Draw 2 cards. Proliferate. Hunter's Edge. You never see that one. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control, then that creature Deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. It's not a fight, it's more of a poke. Contagious plan. Contingence. Yeah, whatever. Proliferate, draw a card. Courage in Crisis. You never see that card played. Even in Standard, never saw it played. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature, then proliferate. Harmonize, because you want to draw cards. Trust me, you're going to want to draw cards. And Karn's Temporal Sundering. Kind of iffy. I like it, especially when you get one of the big boys out and you're proliferating and you just want to go ahead and take a second turn. No real reason, so if you want to cut it, you can. No real reason for that one in there. I only did it because I got a Teferi. I'm breaking the news to you. I have a Teferi in this deck, so I wanted to be able to do it twice. Okay, so those are the sorceries. Why did I flip them upside down? Don't know. Inspiring Call. Draw a card for each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it. Those creatures gain indestructible until end of turn. That is an awesome cantrip. You have to do that during a fight or right before a fight, and it just drives people crazy. Invigorating Surge. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control, then double the number of 1/1 counters on that creature. Love that. Growth Spiral. Draw a card, then you put a land in play. Steady Progress. Proliferate and draw a card. Return of the Wild Speaker. 4 and a green. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among non-human creatures you control. Non-human creatures you control get +3/+3 until end of turn. This is a great way of filling your hand up, because there's not a whole lot of humans in this, I don't believe. It's also a great way of just doing a little extra over damage. Return to nature, because sometimes you need to destroy an artifact or an enchantment or exile a graveyard. Counter spells, negate, unwind, and Narcissus Reversal. I normally would tell you to have at least 2, but I find myself in this deck sometimes in my play group needing 4. So those you can change out. What is this? Let's go over the artifacts. Artifacts. Soul Ring for mana fixing. Well, kind of. The Ozolith. The Ozolith isn't here because everything that you're going to put in is going to have 1/1 counters on it. And when they die, you want them to go somewhere, at least the 1/1 counters. You want them to go to this or to another creature instead of nowhere into the graveyard. So, Ozolith. Save those 1/1s. Use them later. Arcane Signet. Lightning Greaves. Gives you Shroud and Haste. Whisper Silk Cloak. Unblockable. Can't be targeted as spells or abilities. Panharmonicon, because if 1/1/1 counter is good, maybe 2, 3, or 4 is even better. Myriad Construct. 4. Kicker of 3. It's a sucky 4/4, but you get to, it enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it for each non-basic land your opponent controls. Your opponents. So in the game of Commander, this is a good card, especially if you can get it out quick. But you put on a whole bunch of counters on this, and then as soon as it dies, all those 1/1 counters go to the Ozolith. It's a win-win situation. And then, of course, Walking Ballista. Now, Walking Ballista can be used in 2 ways. I've used it in 2 ways. You can ping your opponents to death, or mass those +1/+1 counters on it, and then when it dies or you kill it, you put it into the I can't think of the word, the Ozolith, and then they all go over to another creature. I want to read the Ozolith. Whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, put those counters on the Ozolith. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if the Ozolith has counters on it, you may move all counters from Ozolith onto the target creature. So, what happens is, people sometimes people, let's say you have 4 +1/+1 counters on it, and they're willing to take the 4 damage. They're going to exile this because they don't want it bigger. Well, by exiling it, you could put the 1/1 counters on here, or you can ping your opponent. It really just depends on what you want to do. But sometimes the best thing to do is save those 1/1s for a different attack. You know, they do this on their turn as a sorcery, and you just go ahead and put it on here. So you can see the interactions with that one. Couple of enchantments here. Not big on enchantments. I probably should add different ones, or a couple of other ones. But Vessel of Necessity, because you want to get more land in play. Retreat to Kazindu, because it gives you +1/+1 counter on a target creature. Hadam's Climb gives you +1/+1 counters on it. I mean, yeah, granted, it only does it 3 times, but that's better than nothing, right? And then, of course, it flips, and it goes into target creature you control gains flying and gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is its power. It's not a counter, but it gives that to him for that attack, which is always awesome. So, those 3. Let's go over some creatures, shall we? And remember, when it comes to these creatures, it's all about the 1/1 counters. So there's creatures in here you probably never seen before, but it's because they get 1/1 counters on them. Mai Tais are so good. Cloudfin Raptor. It has Evolve. If a creature comes in and it's stronger, if I put a creature in play and it's stronger than this gets a 1/1 counter. It evolves. And it does it. Keeps doing it. Pollen Druid, because it gives 1/1 counters, and it proliferates. Merfolk Skydiver. Enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control, and you can use it to proliferate. Okay, so this is, I believe, the one... Yeah, this is the one I needed. The only reason why there's snow-covered land, so I don't really need this one, and I don't really need those. It enters the battlefield, it gets to draw a card. It has Death Touch as long as I control 3 other snow permanents. Do I need that? No. No, I don't. And I'll probably take it out. But it's in there right now. Gnarlin Colony. This one is in foil. I know, looks weird. It has a kicker, and if it enters the battlefield with if it gets kicked, it enters the battlefield with 2 1/1 counters on it. Each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it gains Trample. So even if it comes in without 1/1 counter on it, any creature that does have it gains Trample. Zamorak Guild Guide. Yes, I know. You've never heard of this one. That's okay. Paid a blue and a green, and this turn, each creature you control enters battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it. 1 and a green, or blue and a green, and remove a 1/1 counter from a creature you control and draw a card. Now the trick to this one is you can do it multiple times. If you pay 2 green, 2 blue, every creature that comes in the battlefield this turn has +1/+1 counters on it that I control. So there is a benefit to doing that. Scavenging Ooze gets +1/+1 counters every time it exiles a creature out of someone else's graveyard. But you don't have to do a creature. You can do anything you want. Evolution Sage. It proliferates. So if it has a 1/1 counter on it, this lets it get bigger. Lore Scale Coatl. Whenever you draw a card, put a 1/1 counter on Lore Scale Coatl. Elusive Krasis is unblockable, and it has Evolve, so it gets bigger. And it's a 0/4, so it gets a big butt, bigger it gets. Tireless Tracker gives itself 1/1 counters when you crack clues. You get clues when you investigate, when you put a land into play. This is a great card. I love this card. It is awesome. Eternal Witness, because why wouldn't you if you have a green deck? Why would you not have this in your deck? Because it's awesome. It literally is awesome. So, whenever Eternal Witness enters the battlefield, you may return target card from the graveyard to your hand. Fertilid comes in with 2 1/1 counters on it. Pay a colorless and a green. Remove a 1/1 counter from Fertilid. Target player searches their library for a basic land card. Put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle their library. Pride Milkin. Yeah. Enters battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it has Trample. On a kitty. It's a little kitty. It's weird that it's on a kitty, but whatever, right? Spark Double, because it comes in, it copies something, and it gets a 1/1 counter. Renata, Called to the Hunt, and Renata's power is equal to the devotion to green. Each other creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it. Shark to Crab. I know. But Shark to Crab. It's a fish, octopus, crab. Has Adapt 2, a green and a blue, and has an Adapt 1, so you get some 1/1 counter. 1/1 counter if you do it. Whenever one or more 1/1 counters put on Shark to Crab, tap target creature and opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. But what I like about this is it doesn't say when this creature adapts. It says when it enters, or whenever one or more. So you can use any of the spells or the abilities to put it on there, and it does it. So it's really cool. Frilled Mystic. Frilled Mystic enters the battlefield. You may counter target spell. Has flash. It's a 3/2. So I kind of hold this one in my hand. I try not to cast it too fast. Skyrider Patrol. Flying. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay a blue and a green. Whenever you do, put a 1/1 counter on another target creature you control, and that creature gains flying until end of turn. So you could do it repeatedly. You could pay two green, 2 blue, 3 green, 3 blue, and it'll keep going up. Mawu, Loyal Companion, Trample, Vigilance. If one or more 1/1 counters would be put on Mawu, Loyal Companion, that many +1 1/1 counters are put on it instead. So for every one you put on, you get 2. Well, yeah, you get another one. You get another one. Tatiova, Benthic Druid. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life and draw a card because you want to draw cards. And that's just awesome. Ralzelic, Hybrid, Apex Hybrid. 2 green and a blue. Has trample and flying. And, ooh, that was interesting. Little gnat. Apex Hybrid enters the battlefield. Put 2 1/1 counters on another target creature you control. When Ralzeric dies, proliferate, then proliferate again. Bioessence Hydra, 3, a blue and a green. Bioessence Hydra enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it for each loyalty counter on a planeswalker you control. Whenever one or more loyalty counters are put on a planeswalker you control, put that many 1/1 counters on Bioessence Hydra. Vorinclex. Vorinclex. Vorinclex 4, 2 green. This is the Monstrous Rider, and it has Trample, Haste. It's a 6/6. If you would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead. If an opponent would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, that many put half that many of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead, rounded down. So they don't get counters. You get counters. When you're putting counters on your opponent, you get to put 2. And last but not least, in the creatures, it's a giant, Beanstalk Giant. Not a great one, but has Fertile Footsteps, which is search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield, and shuffle your library. So it's kind of a form of ramp. And then it also has, if you pay the 6 and a green, Beanstalk Giant's power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. So you put this in late, it's a big boy. Does nothing, but it's a big boy. Okay. Almost to the end here. Got a few planeswalkers. Kiora, Beckoner, because a lot of these creatures are +4. You get to draw a card. And then, of course, this is the most important part. Untap target permanent. It has a loyalty of 7. So you're going to use it 7 times untapping your creatures, or at least one creature. Yeah, I did that. I had a creature. I don't remember which one it was, but I put the not the Lightning Greaves, the Whisper Silk on it. And I just kept attacking and then, attacking, untap it, use it for defense. It was unblockable, so yeah. Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. I like this one because it gives +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. You get to put a couple creatures in, so you want to get a bigger first. And then, of course, you get to put the +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. And then, of course, you gain X life and draw X cards, where X is the number of lands you control, which is always nice, but you're really doing the first 2. Chump blockers, +1/+1 counters. Yang, Wildcrafter. Each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it has tap, add a 1 mana of any color, and then put a 1/1 counter on target creature. It's kind of cool. I told you I had a Teferi. Teferi, Master of Time. Yeah, if you're able to do this -10, you're sitting pretty. Take 2 extra turns after this one. That's awesome. You may activate loyalty abilities for Teferi Master of Time on any player's turn, anytime you could cast an instant. This is awesome. This is a great planeswalker. I said it when I saw it. This is probably my favorite planeswalker to put in any blue deck that I can. And then, of course, +1, draw a card, then discard a card, -3. Target creature you don't control phases out. So when one of their big boys is attacking you, you get to phase it out. Kiora, the Crashing Wave. 2, a blue and a green. Until your next turn, prevent all damage that would be dealt to and dealt by target permanent and opponent controls. And then, of course, -1, draw a card. You may play an additional land this turn. -5, you get an emblem with this, at the beginning of your end step, put a 9/9 blue Kraken creature token onto the battlefield, which would be awesome, but really you're doing the first one and you're doing the second one. So if you get to do the ultimate, that's great. Nissa, who shakes the world. Everybody knows her. Everybody hates her. 3 and 2 green. Whenever you tap a forest for mana, add an additional green. Put 3 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 target non-creature land you control. Untap it. It becomes a 0/0 elemental creature with vigilance and haste that's still a land. And then, of course, -8, you get an emblem with lands you control have indestructible. Search your library for any number of forest cards, put them into the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. This one, I see somebody putting this one in a green-white deck with that book because it's going to say they're indestructible. Lands you control have indestructible. So you're going to have to figure out how to exile a land. Vivian Reed. 3 and 2 green. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card or a land card from among them. Put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. -3, destroy target artifact, creature, or enchantment. A creature with flying or an enchantment. And then, of course, -8, you get an emblem with creatures you control. Get +2/+2 on vigilance, trample, and indestructible. I've never used her last ability. It's always been the first and the second. And then, of course, the last one, you thought it was Oko, the other one, but it's not. This Oko costs way too much. 4, a green, and a blue. It's a 4/4. And it says when put 2 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 target creature. And then, of course, for 0 until end of turn, Oko the Trickster becomes a copy of target creature you control. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to him this turn. And then -7, until end of turn, each creature you control has base power, toughness, 10/10, and gains trample. The only reason why this one's in here is because of the +1/+1 on the first one. So now you can see how it works with some of the interactions. It's all about the +1/+1. It's all about going over your enemy. It's all about having that trample and killing them and basically just stomping them away. But there is 2 other win cons. Simic Ascendancy and Grafted Exoskeleton. Grafted Exoskeleton, equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has Infect. Whenever Grafted Skeleton becomes unattached from a permanent, sacrifice that permanent. So you don't want to take it off a permanent, you put it on. But you only need 10 poison counters to kill your opponent. So if you're swinging in with the Vorinclex with 4 +1/+1 counters on it, that's 10 Infect right there. Simic Ascendancy. 1. It's an enchantment. It costs a blue and a green. And for 1, a blue and a green, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Whenever 1 or more 1/1 counters are put on a creature you control, put that many growth counters on Simic Ascendancy. So every time it gets 1, this gets 1. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Simic Ascendancy has 20 or more growth counters on it, you win the game. So 2 other win cons besides going over your enemy and just flattening in his face. Hope you enjoyed this little deck tech. If you have any inspirational thoughts or ideas, please leave them in the comment section. I'd like to know what other people think. Because I know it's not the greatest deck, but it is a fun deck. I do enjoy it. I hope everybody has great time. If you have any questions or at all, please leave a comment down below. Hit the thumbs up button. It really much helps me. And of course, subscribe. Have a great day.